Welcome back. We are still here with Jim Kwik, and we're just learning so much. I thought that was so fascinating, your tips in the last episode, Jim. So I'm really excited actually to read your book, Limitless. I know it's your new book out, and it's a New York Times bestseller. And these tips are just so helpful. So continue with us on motivation and
Absolutely.
Well, and I want everybody listening to go back to the question I asked in the first podcast. If you could implement these strategies, how would your life be different?
Yeah.
And now in the middle of a pandemic, the opportunity really is to rethink your life and what you do and what you want to do. It's a historic opportunity for many people if they get their mindset right, if they have the right motivation and they have the method, just like Jim's talking about. So before you get to motivation, maybe 2 more tips on how to use this method to learn faster.
Absolutely. So when it comes to memory, I always talk about 3 areas of memory. I tell people I always remember MOM, M-O-M. And the first M, let's say somebody has a trouble remembering names, something common, right? And most people would say they have trouble remembering names. But if I had a suitcase here of $1 million cash, if you just remember the name of the next stranger that you met, who's going to remember that person's name? Tax-free. Everybody,
I have trouble with names.
Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, everybody who's listening is a memory expert.
Right.
And so it's not absolutely true that you have a horrible memory or it's you're bad at remembering names. The M stands for motivation, right? Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about here. But a hint that what we could do is that the human brain really needs that incentive. It needs reasons, because reasons reap results. And it's a simple thing you can do to improve your memory is ask yourself, why do I want to remember this person's name, for instance? Maybe it's to show the person respect, maybe to make a new friend, maybe it's to do some business, maybe it's to practice these things that I learned on Brain Warrior on the podcast, right? And if you can't come up with one reason, though, you probably won't remember. The O in MOM stands for observation. And my quick tip for a lot of people is they come to me all the time. They say, Jim, I have a horrible memory. At first, they say, stop. I say, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Yeah. If you fight for your limits, they're yours, right? And so people come to me, I'm too old, I have a horrible memory. And your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet, because you program your supercomputer not to. But the O stands for observation, meaning a lot of people come to us and they say, oh, I have retention problems. And I'm like, look, your memory challenge is not your retention, it's your attention. It's not your retention, it's your attention. And the O stands for observation. And one of the best things, very, very simple, like all of the things is just to listen. A lot of people, they're not really listening. They're thinking about how they're going to respond. Or if they're having a conversation, they're thinking, they're waiting for their turn to speak, right? But they're not truly listening. And I really do believe that people have great memory and this powerful presence. Their great memory and their powerful presence comes from being powerfully present with people.
That's so interesting, because when you say that, I always wondered, like, why can I retain all of the information? Like, if it's medically related, nursing, science, like, bam, I'm on it. I can remember stuff from, 30 years ago. But if it has to do with like names, I'm like, why did I just forget that name? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. That's so interesting.
And there's simple techniques, but here's the thing that keeps us from mastery is saying, I know that already. Oh, that's common sense. Because a lot of people who hear this stuff, but they want to apply it. I feel like we don't know it unless we actually could do it. One of the lies I talk about in mindset, lies again is a limited idea entertained, is that knowledge alone is power. Knowledge is not power alone. It's at best, it's potential power. But all the podcasts, courses, books out there, they won't work unless we work it. And so the O stands for observation. And finally, the last M stands for methods, right? So those are 2 big parts of the Limitless model. It's mindset, motivation, and methods. So how do you tap your motivation? Now, this is for people who feel like they're not doing what they need to be doing. They're procrastinating. They're putting things off. So I want you to think about an area where you're in that box, where you're not making progress and you're putting things off, things that you know you should do. Now, I believe the treasure most people are seeking is hidden in the work they're avoiding. The treasure you're seeking is hidden in the work that you're avoiding, that you're putting off. So what is the formula for human motivation? Well, I did this thought experiment. I was like, okay, after 3 decades of teaching this, and researching this and just field testing it with children with learning challenges to seniors that are losing, that feel like they're losing their memory and everyone in between. I said, let me do this thought experiment. If we're going to build the ultimate motivated human being, right? Their motivation never falters. And the evidence that someone's motivated is they're continually acting, right? It's not what they say or feel, but they're acting. And so your kids aren't motivated unless they're doing that thing, right? Your team's not motivated unless they're doing that thing. You're not motivated unless you're doing that thing. Here's the formula for sustainable motivation, limitless motivation. P times E times S3. P times E times S3. Now, again, we're building the ultimate motivated human being. The first thing you need is that P, which is purpose. Right. And you did it really great right in the beginning. You're like, think about, if you could learn any subject or skill in today's economy where your jobs are being disrupted, how would you benefit from that? And that's exactly what purpose is. I'm not saying your life purpose, although I do talk about that in the book. I say having a reason, just like to remember someone's name, you need a purpose to remember their name. Right. Otherwise, if you can't come up with a reason, maybe you don't have to do these activities. So it's a nice test. I know in a previous episode, we talked about the 5 C's to do while you're cocooning. And one of them is clarity and getting clarity on your values. But maybe your actions aren't aligned with your values. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it if there's no purpose. And a lot of students, they don't learn very well. They don't remember things because they can't remember. They don't know the purpose of learning the quadratic equation or something like that. They don't have the reason, so they won't get the reward. Right. So going back, and you might hear I'm in New York City right now, of all places. So this trains your focus muscles by focusing right now in this conversation. So going back to motivation and purpose, and here's the thing, you can't just intellectually know the reasons to work out because we're not intellectual, because we're not logical, we're biological. When you think about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, we are this chemical feeling soup. And so it's not just, we know intellectually why we should work out or why we should meditate, why we should prioritize sleep, but you have to allow yourself to feel it because the success formula is 3 H's, head, heart, hands. You can have a goal in your head, but if you're not acting with your hands, you check in with the second H, which is your heart. So feel the rewards that come from doing this behavior. And I would challenge everyone to feel the consequences of not doing the behavior, right? So feel the consequences because some people are motivated more about who they're going to disappoint and everything else. So feel that. The second element to limitless motivation, my question is, if we're going to build the ultimate motivated human being, if they just have purpose, will they always follow through? And I was like, no. I could think of another thing that's missing, the E. The E is energy. And the two of you are experts at brain energy. But some people, they know they should exercise, but maybe if they have a newborn, they haven't slept in 3 nights, they're not going to be very motivated because they lack the energy. They know, leaders are readers. To get through a book a week, the average reader takes about 45 minutes a day. The average book has about 64,000 words. The average person reads about 200 words a minute, has 320 minutes to get through one book, 7 days in a week, 45 minutes a day. And they're like, okay, I know intellectually I have purpose for reading. I'm going to be more successful. I'm going to have more income. I'll be able to have greater impact. And they might have ate a big processed food, like meal, and they're in a food coma. They lack energy. They're not going to be very motivated to read or study or do the things they need to do. And then my mind went, okay, if somebody just has purpose and they have abundance of energy, will they always be motivated? And I was like, no, what's missing? The last thing, S3. 3 S's, small, simple steps, because it's what keeps people who have purpose. And even if they have an energy, maybe they're not taking action because this thing is too big. Yep. This is so intimidating. I want to build this big, I want to get 1 million followers. I want to build this big business. I want to have the perfect body. I want to meet my soulmate, live happily, whatever that is. A confused mind doesn't do anything, right? And so how you get your small, simple step is asking a question like, what is the tiniest action I could take to make progress towards this goal? So tiny, I can't fail. What is the tiniest action I could take that will give me progress towards this goal where I can't fail? So what would that be? If it's working out, maybe it's not. Working out for an hour a day is so intimidating. That's too big for people who've never worked out. Small, simple step, putting on your running shoes, right? Reading 45 minutes a day for somebody who doesn't read a book in the whole year can be very, challenging. So a small, simple step, opening up the book or reading 1 line in the book, right? I believe small, simple steps is the key because inch by inch is a cinch. Yard by yard, it's way too hard. And that's the thing. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And then you start having these wins and you tap into the science of momentum. And that really keeps people going and will keep people motivated in challenging times.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you have a limitless life. The self-limiting beliefs are so rampant. We call them the ants, that people are just infested. So much wisdom, Jim. Thank you so much.
Completely resonates.
How can people learn more about the book? I know limitlessbook.com, but your work, how can they engage?
Well, engage, I would recommend a small, simple step right now, since that was the theme of today. And one of the fastest ways of learning something is to learn with the intention of teaching somebody else and paying it forward. So I would challenge everyone to take a screenshot of this episode right now, tag the three of us in it on social media so we see it, and share one idea that you got from these episodes with your friends, with your family. So screenshot this or take a picture of your notes, post it, tag the three of us on social media so we see it, and share your big aha. One thing you're going to do from these conversations that's a small, simple step. And when you post it, I'll actually repost some of my favorites as well. And I'll actually send a copy of Limitless to one random person just for playing along with it. And you can get the book at limitlessbook.com. You get a 10-day program as my gift, speed reading memory program, because I want this not to be the most bought book. That would be wonderful, but I want it to be the most read book. And so I'll do this free gifts. We do a 4-week book club. The book actually is the hero's journey. We walk people to 4 stages of Joseph Campbell's work, Hero's Journey.
Love
and
that.
we do 1-week book club on each section of the book. And I show you how to read it, how to remember what you read, how to apply it. But it's all at limitlessbook.com. And thank you both. And I can't wait to have you both on my podcast. And if you love this you listen to podcasts, you just search my name, Jim Kwik, in your podcast app. And we have a show about memory and focus and all those good things.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was so fun.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.